It's time to talk Lamar football with Cardinal head coach Pete Rosamondo and KLVI News and Sports Director Harold Mann. Hear the Coaches Show every Wednesday at 7, live from Little Woodrow's in Beaumont, and come out and join us. Now, here's Harold Mann and Coach Rosamondo.
All right, Cardinal fans, welcome out to Little Woodrow's. Next hour, we'll be visiting with head football coach Pete Rosamondo about this past weekend's trip over to San Antonio to take on UIW and what lies ahead. Coach, first off, just a tough game over in San Antonio, battle of the Cardinals. UIW wins at 41-20. I know we say you've played a lot of tough opponents throughout the season. This may have been your toughest opponent. This is a solid football team you went against. So ranked number 8 in the country.
Yeah, good football team, good quarterback. Really good skill players. Defensive, team speed was pretty good. I thought, overall they're probably one of the better teams we played. I think them and probably Texas State would probably be neck and neck.
Breaking down some of the individual stats, Robert Coleman at QB for the Cardinals, 17 out of 22 passing, 238 yards passing, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I thought he played, really, really well in the game. That was the best I'd seen him throw the ball all year, and hopefully that's a sign of things to come for the next couple weeks. Thought he was really dialed into the game plan. And, again, last time we played him offensively last year, we had one explosive play. It was on a trick play, and we scored a touchdown on it, and that was the only touchdown we had. And in this game, we had 9 explosive plays on the offensive side of the ball. So I think we're making some progress for sure, and I really do believe this is a better UIW team than they were a year ago.
Obviously, they had a really good run defense. They shut down the run. Major Bowden, 44 yards rushing, 24 his longest carry. Kalen Griffin, who's already over 1,000 yards on the season, took for 34 yards, and his longest was 12 yards. They were a tough team to run against.
They were. We had some good things going in the quarterback run game, and obviously Major comes in and gives you a big spark off the bench, and I think they're tough to run against, which is why we were so successful throwing the football. They commit a lot of guys down in for the run, and it allows you to throw some passes out there. So we were able to do that and complete them, and guys were able to gain yards. So that's there's different ways to skin a cat for sure.
Let's talk about Major real quick. He was as I'm going to do air quotes here, a quarterback in high school. Led his team, China Springs, to a state championship. He's been banged up. Now he's healthy, and we're seeing what kind of an asset he can be to your football team.
Yeah, catching the ball, and then I think he had 2 catches or 3 catches in the game, but certainly a guy that's a multifaceted guy, returning kicks, and it's great to have him healthy. He's a tough guy to bring down. He's really twitchy and fast, and he can play that wildcat quarterback, which we used him on in the past.
We saw that speed last year over in Lake, or was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Yeah, in Lake Charles when he had the kickoff return for a touchdown. So we know he has breakaway speed.
He does. Yeah, he's multifaceted for sure.
Unfortunately, 3 turnovers, and one of them coming as you're driving in the red zone. I guess if there's anything positive, a bright light to those turnovers, none of them resulted in points. Your defense stepped up after you turned it over 3 times.
Yeah, the only problem is they didn't result in any points for us.
Exactly.
That's the problem. And, I always find that I always feel like turnovers are coaching errors, and we got to do a much better job of getting that fixed. And we spent a lot of time on it this week and last week, and making sure that we obviously we took care of the interceptions. Robert did a really good job of taking care of the ball that way. But then we put the ball on the ground and a fumble, 1 on a special teams play, and then 2 on offense.
Kendon Fusilier, 6 catches, 90 yards, including 1 for 47. Isaiah Jones, 3 catches for 62 yards, including a 47-yard touchdown reception. Devin Gibbs, 3 catches, 51 yards, 28-yard touchdown reception. Damian Moore had an 11-yard touchdown. All of them giving you good plays. And I want to go to the Devin Gibbs 28-yard touchdown reception. That ball was deflected, and he was able to, focus, use his hands, and it just shows us how good of an athlete he is.
Yeah, he's a tremendous athlete. It wasn't deflected. It was just a contested catch.
Okay.
And then when Devin pulled it down, he kind of lost it a little bit, but wound up securing it and continuing to go. But, we had a little what we call double cadence on there where we flare the back out. We fake like we're snapping the ball so we could see what they're doing defensively, and then we kind of knew what we wanted to do against what they were doing, and we called the play to get a one-on-one with Devin, and which we got, and Robert had the green light to go to him on that play.
Overall, offensively, some of the guys, besides the guys we just talked about giving you the numbers, maybe some other guys that stepped it up and had a good afternoon for you.
Obviously, I think Eli Ripley played well. Our center, always good to, he when we're moving the ball, it's usually because he's getting us in the right things. And I think, obviously, those other guys just, I can't say enough about Kendon Fuselier. The guy just continues to make plays, continues to be a guy for us, a weapon on the offensive side of the ball. And, I think, if you had a most valuable player in that game, it would certainly be him.
I watched him throughout his high school days. His hands, he makes the catches. He may not have that. He's going to outrun you 90 yards down the field speed, but he's going to make the catch, and he makes catches in heavy traffic.
He understands his body. He has unbelievable body control. He's a way better athlete than people give him credit for. He's got great balance. He's got incredible determination, as you know.
Yeah.
And he's got really soft hands. And I think all that coupled, and he can run the ball because you've seen him do it in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You knew he could tackle, right? Because
yes.
he played defense. And he can throw the ball. I didn't even know that.
I think he had a touchdown. I remember a touchdown pass. But there's one thing I'm glad you taught him. When he was in high school, on a punt, the ball would come stop right in front of him. He'd have three different defenders around him. He'd bend over and pick it up, try to take off running. I'm glad you got him away from that.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Again, the Cardinals this past week on the road, dropping one to UIW. We'll talk about the defensive side when we return. Again, we're at Little Woodrow's talking Lamar University football on News Talk 560 KLVI. Harold Mann along with Coach Pete Rosamondo. We're back out here at Little Woodrow's, and as always, we thank the big Lamar fans, all you. Thank you so much. Our supporters coming out each and every Wednesday night. We have one more left next Wednesday as the Cardinals will be getting set to head over across the Sabine to take on McNeese State. So one more show left after this week. Get everybody out here and support your Lamar football program. Of course, out at the Provost Humphrey this coming Saturday when Nichols comes to town. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. All right, on the defensive side, just a very good offensive team you're looking at. Calzado, their quarterback. I don't know if fans know exactly who this kid is. Remember 2 years ago when Texas A&M beat number 1 Alabama at Kyle Field, he was the Aggies quarterback that night.
He was, yeah. He was at Auburn. He was there, and then wound up at UIW. He's a heck of a talent, and is really doing a good job of operating their offense this year. And we did a really good job in the first half of keeping them the field goals and field goal attempts, and the second half again, some of those things just got away from us as far as like tackling in space, which we did a really good job of in the first half. We missed a couple too many tackles in the second half, and next thing you know, you're 2 scores behind, and then you're playing catch up. So
and that's a tough team to play from behind against. Jalen Freeman 7 tackles. Ramon Stevens had 7 tackles. But when you talk about Ramon and his 7 tackles, 6 of them were solo.
Yeah, I thought Ramon played really well. I mean, that was as good as he'd played in a few weeks. I mean, just overall, he's played good all year, but I think that was his best game as far as covering and tackling. And, I think Ken Savannah had a really good game. I think Tom Mack, Banda had a really good game. I think those guys all played really, really good football. And, we had a couple of mental errors at the end of that second quarter, which caused them to be able to drive down the field and kick a field goal, which, quite honestly was disappointing.
Crayton Simmons, he had a sack for 15 yards.
Yeah. I mean, we got some pressure on him. but he's really good at escaping the pocket and being able to deliver the ball on the move. He's got a really live arm.
What'd you talk about at halftime? You go in behind at halftime. What'd you talk about to the Cardinals?
We just go in and, we make our corrections. We talk about what we like in the second half on both sides. And then we just, really just bring them together and say, hey, man, another 30 minutes of football. And, we need to go out there and make sure we tackle, keep putting them on the center and making sure they get to snap the ball again, because you don't want to give up big plays. And we had 2 opportunities in that second half drive to get off the field, and we couldn't do it, and we got to do a better job being able to get off the field there.
Never like a loss, obviously, but is there anything you can learn from a setback like you had on Saturday?
I mean, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about yourself as a competitor. You learn a lot about yourself how did I focus? How was my attention to detail? What can we be better at from those instances? And I thought the game plan on both sides was pretty solid, and I thought for the most part our communication was good. We do need to improve again. Not turning the ball over against good teams. I mean, those are killers in those types of games.
Special teams, punting. Chase Leon averaged 44 yards a punt. He had a long one of 53. We talk about Chase almost every week because this guy flips the field, and he can flip a field for you with his foot.
He did, and I thought we gave up two returns, which I was disappointed in because I thought Chase kicked the ball really well as far as location, and we let a couple of them squeak out of there for 8-9 yard gains, which it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a first down. I mean, when you talk about it, it's an extra first down that you give the other team. So you give them 2 first downs. Obviously that moves the field. There's a certain percentage on the field of where a person gets the ball, a team gets the ball, and what the percentage of scoring is. If you get it inside your own 10, the percentage of scoring is like 5%, and then it kind of goes up as you matriculate down the field. So we always want to try to make sure that we elongate the field because it's harder to score.
Now, we've talked about this in the past, and just in case someone might be tuning in for the first time, on how much the kicking game, especially on the punting side, has changed over the years. I remember growing up, standing on the 10-yard line. If it's in front of you, fair catch. If it's over your head, let it go. But these punters are so good now. They can, with accuracy, they can down it within the 5. Just to talk about how much that has changed over the year. And when you have your punt returner back there, what you advise him?
Well, I'd love to say it's like me hitting a wedge on the golf course, but I'm not that good with a wedge, so it wouldn't look like that. But these guys, they could stop the ball on a dime and make it go sideways. Chase can sit out there and pretty much tell you where he wants to put the ball. Now, sometimes that doesn't always work out when you get pressure, but
right.
I think that if he's out there just kicking, he can put the ball wherever he wants. And you really tell the guy it's really 5-yard line now.
Okay.
It's really more like, hey, if I can catch it, if I stand at the 5 and I can catch it moving forward, then I'm good. If I have to back up, then I just let
it go. And if it happens to bounce at the 2,
there is a different mentality to it, and really it's all based on scouting too. Like what we've seen from the opponent's punter. If we haven't seen a lot of ones check up on the 1-yard line, we're going to put his heels at 10 and go back to the old school ways where you don't back up and you kind of run away from the ball and hopefully the ball chips into the end zone. So that's kind of what it's like each week. It's just a little bit different based on the scouting.
Now, on a daily basis at practice, when we talk about Chase and then Ben on the kicking side, how much time during practice do they spend, practicing punts, practicing field goals?
They have a regimen that Adam Fujiwara, our special teams GA, puts them through daily. So we have a special teams block at the beginning of practice, and then the meat of practice in the middle. They leave the grass fields to go over to the stadium, and they practice specific things each day. Like one day it might be kickoffs to the right, one day it might be kickoffs to the left, one day it might be pooch punts, one day it might be coffin corner, working on directional punting. One day it might be onside kicks. One day it might be operational things like maybe like a fast field goal where you got to run them out onto the field, get the snap, get the hold, get the kick. So I think all those things we work on a lot. I mean, we spend a ton of time on special teams. Tomorrow in Thursday's practice, out of an hour and 25-minute practice, you'll have almost 35 minutes of special team.
Wow. All right, we got to get our next break in. Tell you what, folks, when we come back, he may be the boss of the Lamar football team. We're going to talk to the boss of the Rosamondo household when we're back on News Talk 560 KLVI. News Talk 560 KLVI, Harold Mann back with you out at Little Woodrow's on the Pete Rosamondo Show. Going to give the coach a break this segment, although he is standing by. We have his wife, Jessica Rosamondo, with us. And Jessica, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
All right, before we talk about the life of the wife of a coach, tell us about how you two met. Because, he'd give us a completely different story.
Oh, well, we met at a restaurant back in Saratoga Springs. He was coaching at the U-Albany at the time. And he had gone out with a bunch of his friends, and I had gone out with some of my girlfriends. And he came over asking if a seat was taken, and I thought he meant he wanted to take the seat.
All right.
So I said, "Oh, go ahead," and then he proceeded to sit down.
And here we are, 20 some odd years later?
Yes, sir.
When he one more personal question: when he proposed, how did he do that? Did they just say?
Oh gosh.
Was it embarrassing or?
No, not at all.
Good.
It was very quiet. It was in our the apartment we lived in at the time.
Very good. You knew what life you were getting into, because when it comes to coaching, there's a lot of hours involved and some moving around quite a bit. Yes. Just talk about. I've talked to Coach quite a bit about his daily routine. Now, as we're going to talk about the other side of it, after we talk about the wife of Coach, what's your daily routine like? You're like a team mom, obviously, being the head coach's wife. What's your day like when it comes to?
Well, it's very different now that my children are all grown and in college themselves. But now I do get involved with the team. I usually bring them treats on Thursdays. I obviously have one of the players who is mine, so I'm still quite involved with Nick. It's just good to know the parents, know the kids. I like to hear what's going on in their lives and be there to support them when they're going through anything. We've had some ups and downs this season, and It's a true family, so I just try to be a mama whenever they need help.
Talking about true family, as we mentioned, your husband is the head coach, and you have a freshman football player on the team. What's that like being the wife of the coach and a mother of a player?
Well, sometimes I have to ask him to switch hats when he comes home, and I want to talk to him as a parent. But for the most part, it's the best of both worlds. I've got both of them in the same place. I go to one game on the weekends now, as opposed to two. He's playing for a team that I love, so it's kind of a win-win.
What was last year like for you, Nick? Of course, transferred here 1 year over at Lumberton High School, and they had a great year. Went like 3 rounds deep in the playoffs. How tough was that for you? Friday night, mom. Yeah. Saturday afternoon, wife. Your schedule had to be going crazy.
It was very busy for sure, but it's just what we've always done. So it was nice to be in the same state as Pete. That made it actually a lot easier. And we had wonderful coaches at Lumberton, so it made it great for Nick. So it probably was one of our best years of high school for Nick, to be honest.
Talking with Jessica Rosamondo, wife of head coach Pete Rosamondo, mother of player Nick Rosamondo. Look for him. He's out there quite a bit on special teams, number 41. Were you a football fan before you met Coach?
Prior to meeting Pete? No. I was a cheerleader, so I knew a little bit, but no, I would not have called myself a fan. I didn't have a team that I loved or anything like that.
Now, when you first started dating and even after you got married, were you asking questions about, football all the time?
I'll be honest with you. When I first started dating him, I went and bought the Football for Dummies book, and I tried to learn it that way.
Did it work?
He married me.
There you go. Again, just a little bit about your busy schedule, and you obviously love the game because you've married into it, and thank you. I know Coach thanks you because he goes through a lot. Is dinner on the table when he gets home at night, or do you just say you're on your own there, big guy?
No, actually, dinner's been on the table for him lately. Now that there's no kids to run to practices or things like that, he's getting dinner on the table.
Jessica, thank you so much for joining us
having
here.
me.
I mean, you said you were nervous. Now, hey, Cardinal fans, how did she do? There you go. Thank you, Jessica. All right, again, Jessica Rosamondo, the wife of head football coach Pete Rosamondo. Coach rejoins us on News Talk 560 KLVI. We are back out at Little Woodrow's. Harold Mann with you. I want to thank Jessica Rosamondo for joining us, Coach.
How about her, huh?
How about that?
That's right.
She mentioned she was shy and quiet. No, she's good, man. She did a good job.
She did a good job. She's always does better than she thinks.
And just talk about that a little bit. A wife of a coach, and you realize what they go through as well, because the amount of hours you're putting in your job.
Well, I think two things happen, right? We get in season mode, so we don't really care what anybody says, right? We're focusing on the next opponent,
right?
Getting our players better each week. We're not looking at all the other stuff. She's getting social media posts. People are getting, attacking her on Facebook if we're not winning. She gets the worst of it, and I feel bad for her for that. But she handles herself with grace. She's been doing it long enough as the first lady of football, in the 3 programs that I've been the head coach, and she's amazing with the players, and she's always around and supportive, and she takes losses sometimes way harder than we do, because we have to rebound.
Yeah.
We turn the page pretty quickly on Sunday because you got to get ready for the next game, and she's living it every day.
I feel that because you see this. At games, whether it's high school, professional, whatever have you, a fan yelling, "Oh, come on, coach!" and he might be sitting right beside that coach's wife.
Yeah, and a lot of times that happens with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The quarterback's parents are sitting in the stands, and everyone's ripping the quarterback. It's hard sometimes when she's sitting there and listening to the parents or fans ripping the quarterback, and he stinks, and you got to get him out. And man, you want to talk about a parent, and she gets in parent mode, and it is just, she gets waterworks going. So because she feels bad for the players, and she knows what the family's going through because we've been through it.
Yeah. Let's talk about what we have coming up on Saturday. Nichols coming to town, 3:00 kickoff. 20-plus seniors will be recognized, and I talked to you about this on what's going to be our pregame show on Saturday, and then this past Monday with our weekly press conference. These guys have not been with you long. You're only second year here, so you've had them for 2 seasons on the field. But still, these kids, these seniors, have meant so much to you in this program.
They have, and I think they, again, I can't thank them enough for everything they've done. They've helped us flip the script of Lamar football and what people think of it, and the expectations are a lot higher now for us and for our program, and because of what they did to help change the tide and the culture, and that's not always easy. When one thing is going in a bad direction and it's going at a pretty quick pace, it's hard to get that thing turned around, and it takes a committed group of young people to do that, and I believe we have it. And these seniors have done a great job of not only becoming great ambassadors for Lamar football, but really becoming an extension of our coaching staff and really driving the culture home. And we're not, again, we still got a long way to go,
right.
but I think because of them and because of, I call it their backbone, because of their backbone, we've gotten this thing turned around where we've been nationally ranked. We've done some pretty cool things here in the last couple of years, and I think they're the ones you got to give credit to. Everybody wants to talk to me about it, and I just put the vision out there. They're the ones that put it in place, and I tell the players all the time, you can have as many plays on a play sheet as you want. They make the plays come to life, and they really do, and I'm proud of them, and I told you earlier today I'd do anything for these guys because they really helped us turn this thing around.
If you had a message for your underclassmen, anytime this week, pregame on Saturday, you said, look, these guys here, this group, they're going out on this field, Provost Humphrey Stadium, Bud Leonard Field. They're going out there for the final time. What would you tell your underclassmen to do for those seniors?
I just tell them if you love them, you got to play hard for them. I mean, I really believe that. It's hard for you to tell somebody what to do for somebody else. I think it's what those guys have done for them over the course of their experience here together, and hopefully they feel like they want to, not that they're being told to, do everything they can in their power to close this thing out the right way. And for those seniors, for those guys that really helped us, really get this thing moving in the right direction and really give them a better experience. You don't have a brand new team room and a brand new weight room because you're losing games.
Right.
It's because you've turned things around and you got things moving in the right direction. And, hopefully those guys feel really a bit of gratitude towards those seniors and that they want to go out there and play their tails off for them for really what amounts to 120 more minutes.
Yeah, get a winning season.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Nichols. They're defending conference champs. They're coming in here 4-6 overall, 2-3 in the league. Again, they've won that conference last year, got a lot of those guys back this year, so they're going to be a tough team to deal with. Their quarterback is Pat McQuaid, 6 foot, 190-pound kid, 12 touchdown passes on the year.
Yeah, I mean, he's a veteran. He's done it. He's been there, been through the wars, and I think he's a guy that, he's a leader on their team. I can tell that just by watching him play. And, they're a little bit different team than they were a year ago. I mean, obviously they still have Guggenheim.
Right, I was going to mention him.
But they, they're without Jalen Spears, the other running back. They're, a bunch of their wideouts are injured, and their O-line is way different than they were a year ago. They graduated some players and have some injuries, so they're playing some young guys along the line. But the tight end is a really good player. Quarterback's a really good player. I mean, they got good players. I mean, Those guys do a really good job. Coach Rebo and his staff recruiting. They got good players, but they're just a little bit different on the offensive side of the ball. Now on defense, they're pretty salty. They got the leading sack leader in the conference. They're giving you what we call an amoeba style defense, which is really no general structure to what they do, and they're moving it all over the place and bringing guys, what seems like from off the bench sometimes, to rush your quarterback. So you really got to be ready and dialed in because of the things they're going to present to you on Saturday.
Last year they had the 1-2 punch you mentioned at running back, and I really remember calling Guggenheim. This year he's averaging just under 80 yards a game rushing. He's gotten to the end zone 7 times. He is a tough runner.
Yeah, he's a big physical back, and it's one of those. And he's been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
He seems like he's been there forever. But because I watched him the year before we got here, and when they played in 22, and then you go against him in 23, and you're going to see him again in 24. So he's been around a long time, and he's certainly a veteran football player that's going to give everything he's got for that team. And, we got to do a good job of getting him on the ground because he's going to break tackles if you don't do that.
Looking at the receiving core, they spread it out. I think if I'm looking correctly, their leading receiver is Quincy Brown. He has 3 touchdown receptions this year, but they have 8 different receivers that have caught a touchdown pass this season.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of it has to do with the youth movement. A lot of it has to do with some injuries. And but, they played some good players, and number 1 and number 2, those guys are really good wideouts and quick, and they can make you miss in a phone booth kind of guys.
Going back to Pat McQuaid, the quarterback. Will he tuck it and run, or is he just pretty much a passer?
He's a good runner. Yeah, I would say he's a plus athlete for sure. I mean, he's the son of a coach. His dad is a high school football coach in Ohio. I think obviously the son of a coach is always one of those, like Major Bowden, son of a coach. Those guys usually are gritty. They're those guys play really good football. So Pat, he's going to play good football for sure.
And again, on the defensive side, they solid up front.
Yeah, they're big. Lovelace was the rookie of the year last year in the conference. He was a freshman All-American, D tackle. He's back. They got number 91. The other D tackles are really good. Played against us last year. Had a sack against us. The linebackers are all repeat guys you watched last year, and when you called the game, they're all back, and they're all running around and making a lot of plays. It's a pretty veteran defense, and those guys have all been through the wars. So, you're going to have – I think they're leading the conference in rushing defense, and a lot of it has to do with the sacks that they've had. but they've created the sack, so obviously that helps their stats.
Now, when it comes to the sacks, do you change things up offensively for you, maybe to get your quarterback a little mobile, a quicker release, or you just go out there and play your game?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of everything, but more importantly, you got to get your quarterback familiar with the patterns and the blitzes they're sending and those types of things. That's the most important part. And then, you really want to try to get the ball out of his hands on time.
Right.
Now,
on an average, when a quarterback takes a snap, on an average, how quick do you want him releasing that football?
It just really depends on the action. Like, is it just straight drop back? Is it play action? Is it quick game? If it's quick game, man, you want that ball when his back foot hits the ground, that ball should be out. When it's drop back, there's a rhythm to it. There's a 3-step hitch, run or check down. So, and then when there's play action, you may hold the ball a little longer because maybe it's a deep shot. So it's all a little bit different based on what the play is.
Got to get our final break in. Again, here out at Little Woodrow's, talking Cardinals football with head coach Pete Rosamondo. We're back on News Talk 560 KLVI. All right, here we are back out at Little Woodrow's. Harold Mann along with Lamar head football coach Pete Rosamondo. We're in the home stretch of our coaches show here, and we want to thank, first off, we have one more week, Coach. We're back out here next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Invite anybody to come out. I want to thank all the Lamar fans for coming out all year long.
All year, yeah. This has been the crew right here.
You guys,
through thick or thin, they've been here.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And, of course, the staff here at Little Woodrow's and how wonderful they've been for us.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Again, we have Nichols coming in on Saturday, final home game of the year before wrapping it up against those guys across the Sabine River a week from Saturday. And just a special day when you play at home. And our fans at Provost Humphrey has been remarkable all year long.
It's been really, this year has been something special. We're each game we seem to be getting more and more people in the stands, and really this past game we had against Sela was loud.
Yeah.
I mean, it was loud. I couldn't even believe how loud it was. And when I can hear it over the headset, that it's loud, and they've done a great job. And the excitement is back for Lamar football, and we just got to keep that rolling. And I know a lot of that has to do with winning, and a lot of it has to do with being successful on the field. But we really appreciate our fans and all the people that fill our stadium and get in the chat rooms and sometimes say foolish stuff. But that's what fans do. That's the beauty of being a fan, right? I mean, you just want to make sure your team has the most success. So we appreciate that and understand it. We just want them to understand some of the things that we're doing, too, to try to get that stuff right.
Well, it's right. It's definitely going in the right direction. Let's talk some internal stuff, if you will. We see on the sideline some of your backup QBs wearing the mesh, different colors, signaling out and all that. How much work goes into that? I mean, we see like
every day.
McCown, he's out there, and
Kendrick Malone, Hayden McCown, Coach Gibson, Coach Douglas. They're all involved in the signals, and any one of those guys can be live, and they're all signaling, and a couple of them are dead. One of them's live for one thing, one of them's live for the other thing. So it's kind of just one. When nowadays everybody's taping signalers and trying to learn your signals and trying to get an edge on you. So you got to have multiple guys doing it, and you got to make sure you change it up each and every game.
Some teams they hold up the big billboards, the face of somebody.
None of that stuff means anything.
And I'm like, what's going on there?
No, it doesn't mean anything. It truly doesn't. It's a distraction. They just throw it up there.
When it comes to your coordinators and your coaches, who's upstairs, who's downstairs?
Both coordinators are on the side. All three coordinators, really. Our special teams coordinator, our offense and defense are all on the sideline, and we have position coaches upstairs in specific areas like Wayne Cordova. On defense, he's the back end guy, so he's up in the box with. He's up there with who I can't remember who's up there, and the other defensive coach. But then you got Coach Douglas is up there for us. He's a receiver coach. He's the back end guy, and Coach Sperano, who's obviously more of an inline guy to tell us what's going on.
Talk about him a little bit. The last name itself, that tells you about Coach Soprano.
Well, the name is special to me, as you know. I mean, his dad is a mentor of mine and, got me into the profession and mentored me through my first 5 years in the profession and gave me my first full-time job. And, more importantly, just treated me like family. And, his wife, Jeanette, is, just an unbelievable person. And she's been so good to me and my family. And, throughout the years, thick and thin. I mean, he helped me get the New Haven head coaching job, my first head coaching opportunity. And, I just, I every day I look back and I just can't, I can't thank him enough. Obviously, a heavenly thank you. He's passed on, but he's just
with
an
NFL experience as a coach.
Yeah, and then his son Andy. Obviously I coached him, I recruited him. He's my godson. So I mean he's very close, but really what he is extremely bright young football coach and really good recruiter. Really does a good job of building our guys in that tight end room, and those guys have been, we've had a lot of injuries in that group, and a lot of guys in and out of the lineup, and Coach Sperano always gets those guys ready to play, just like his dad would be so proud of him and watch him. He reminds me so much of his dad and his mannerisms and some of the things that he says and even the detail at which he speaks. It's sometimes it brings a tear to your eye, because it's just like your mentor.
You talk about a coach like Coach there, and any of your current seniors, could they come back and maybe be a grad assistant for you next year?
I hope so.
Do they have coaching in their blood, to say?
I mean, a lot of guys have it in their blood. It's whether they want to, This profession is not for the faint of heart when you first get started. Very few guys, jump into this profession and are making any type of salary within the first 5 or 6 years. So it takes a little while. You got to have a real passion for it. So we'll see. We've talked a lot with a bunch of guys on the team about coming back as a coach or moving on to be a coach somewhere else, maybe even in high school. So.
That's awesome. And again, the 20-plus seniors, as we're winding down this segment, will be recognized and honored and thanked on Saturday. And some of them already have degrees. Others are going to get their degrees. And bottom line, these kids are going to leave Lamar University with a college education.
They are. And that's, when we talk about winning games, which is really, really important. So don't think I'm not. But we also talk about winning in life. And making sure these guys are set up for life, and they're not just used for their athletic ability, but we use their athletic ability to give them something later in life that is really beneficial to them, not only as students, but as husbands and fathers, and we have some guys on the team that are fathers already, and hopefully we've given them the blueprint to have success in that realm as well. And I think one of the things that we teach them is to never give up, and I think when you have a family and you have kids and things go wrong and you and your partner are on thin ice and you don't give up, you just keep fighting for it, and hopefully we're teaching our guys that each and every day.
All right, you have about 2 minutes to go. Another guy I want to talk about, I saw him Mondays, Carson, a former quarterback here at Lamar University, Carson Earp, and he meets with your team on a weekly basis.
He's our spiritual coach. I mean, he works with our guys, from a spiritual end, and he's there every week. He's at practice a lot of times, and he's done it before. He's been in that locker room. He's been in that team room. He's done it, and I think that and that with his amazing faith and his amazing he can teach, he can coach. He did it. He coached for 5 years after he graduated. Man, it's impressive to watch him with our team.
And I know I'm sure that Monday is a volunteer, and there's a lot of kids. A lot of your team goes in that room.
They do, and again, it's all voluntary, and it's strictly based on what they want and what they want to do. It's not mandatory, but we want to make it available to them to obviously increase their spiritual life. We think it's important to have somebody who's well-rounded.
Minute to go in the show, and as always, you leave here today and get ready for Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we're doing this week, which, one of our players, Braden Faulkner, lost his mom, Amy, last week to a courageous battle.
And our condolences and thoughts go to his family.
Yeah, and we're gonna go support Braden and his family on Friday. We're gonna head out there to the memorial service, but we just want Braden to know we love him, and we're behind him, and we know he's going through a difficult time, but that's what family's for, and that's what we're here for. So. And
that just spells the entire life of a team, because, as you mentioned, it goes outside of football now and then in a situation like this.
But everybody thinks we're just playing, UIW last week, but our D-line coach Lorenzo Jackson lost his mom suddenly right after the Sela game, and then Braden obviously lost his mom on Tuesday of that week. So it's been a tough week in the Cardinal family for us. We're all close and we all stay together, and that it makes it hard on all of us.
Coach, thank you so much for stopping by. Fans, get out there, recognize our seniors, thank our seniors for coming out Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff against Nichols, and we're back here next Wednesday night.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for coming out. We'll see you out at Provost Humphrey Stadium on Saturday afternoon.